Again, Dennis Frado with the Lutheran World Federation, and it's my privilege to welcome everyone this afternoon to our discussion, which is co-sponsored with colleagues from the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese and Council and the World Council of Churches. And our topic is forced migration, human trafficking, and child soldiers. How is ISIL, Daesh, is exploiting the conflict in the Middle East. We know that the so-called Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant is exploiting the current political and humanitarian situation there, causing considerable instability, and it has many consequences negatively for many people. So we're quite privileged to have a number of individuals here to be on our panel. I will now introduce them in the order that they will be speaking. To my immediate right is Ms. Li Feng, who is the team leader for the Middle East and Asia in the Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children and Armed Conflict. Previously, from 2011 to 2015, she coordinated the Protection Cluster in Palestine, which is the humanitarian mechanism for ensuring the coherence of protection interventions, including monitoring and documentation, advocacy, legal assistance, child protection, psychosocial support, and mine action. She also worked for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva, engaging in peace and security issues and supporting the human rights components of peace operations, and also in Cambodia, managing a program on land-related human rights issues. Prior to joining the UN, she worked for Oxfam in the Pacific region and is a lawyer with public and private sector experience in Australia and Vanuatu. She holds a master's degree in international humanitarian and criminal law, and also has a degree in French and Spanish, and has worked in human rights, peace and security, humanitarian action, development, and law in the Middle East, Asia, the Pacific region, and Australia. Next to her is Ms. Shafran Sonneveld, who is the Global Advocacy Director of Muslims for Progressive Values, a faith-based human rights organization in consultative status here at the UN. She leads the implementation of the Imams for She initiative, an initiative she co-created and conceptually designed, which facilitates the participation of imams in championing human rights and empowerment. She is a human rights professional with international work experience in South Africa, Australia, Italy, the Netherlands, Canada, and the United States, specializing in international human rights advocacy, digital communications, and international policy research and analysis. She is particularly passionate about examining the compatibility of Sharia and international human rights with a focus on women's rights, and is interested in finding ways to stimulate and foster intercultural and interfaith dialogue. She previously worked for the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, where she was the lead author of a report through the lens of civil society, summary report on the public submissions for the global study on women, peace, and security. She holds a master's degree in international laws from the University of Maastricht in the Netherlands. Next to me, on my immediate left, is Mr. Emeka Obizu, who belongs to the International Catholic Religious Order of St. Augustine. He is the UN representative of the Augustinians International NGO and coordinator of the organization's global advocacy in over 50 countries. He's active here in the NGO community at the UN, where he's serving on the Bureau of the Committee of Religious NGOs at the UN and vice chair of the NGO Committee on Migration. He belongs to the Global Advocacy Network on International Migration and is co-convener of the Migration and Development Network. network that is on global governance related to migration. He's also on the International Steering Committee for the Civil Society Days connected with the Global Forum on Migration and Development. Finally, on the far left is Mr. E.J. Flynn, who is the Senior Human Rights Officer at the Security Council's Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate. Prior to serving with the Directorate, he was an advisor on human rights and counterterrorism at the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva from 2003 to 2005. Before that, he served with the UNHCR for 7 years as coordinator of all human rights programs in Europe, Central Asia, and North America, concentrating on field operations in the Balkans. He was a human rights officer for the UN in Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina during the wars in the former Yugoslavia, and before that in Haiti. And prior to joining the UN in 1993, he worked for 6 years as a human rights and refugee defense lawyer here in the United States. So, we very much want to welcome everyone and our panelists in particular. We're going to ask them to speak for about 8 to 12 minutes, and after they've all spoken, we'll have our Q&A. So I will, with that, turn the microphone over to Ms. Fong.